Shit is getting ridiculous out here, man. They still think it's a game out here. They still think it's a joke. So shit, we gotta keep our foot on the necks, keep our foot on the gas, and keep demanding change, man. But y'all know I bring y'all the most lit shit on YouTube, but not only the lit shit, I'm bringing y'all the real shit, you know what I'm saying? I'm bringing y'all the real shit, what's going on, you know what I'm saying? Not just bitches twerking in cars and shit, no, I'm bringing y'all the shit that I really live in my life, you know what I'm saying? So, everything throughout my life, I'm gonna bring it to the channel, you know what I'm saying? We gotta bring this, because we gotta let our voices be heard out here in the streets.
My name is Jay Bass. I'm an organizer with Detroit Will Breathe. I'm a Detroiter, I'm a father, and I'm a black man. Since the beginning, my black life has not mattered in this country, in this state, and even in my very own city. For 25 years in this city, I've been profiled, discriminated against, and made to feel uncomfortable in my own neighborhood. These injustices come at the will of a system that's created to keep blacks impoverished and displaced, and it comes at the hands of government officials and police departments everywhere. In my city, Detroit, Michigan, the blackest city in America, I have a black police chief that doesn't care about my black life. And that's been proven time and time again over these past 30 days. Over these past 30 days, the Detroit Police Department, I'm sorry, not even 30 days, 3 months, 90 days, plus almost 100. Over these past 3 months, they've proven that they don't care about black lives, because the past 3 months, we've been pepper sprayed, tear gas, shot with rubber bullets, brutalized citizens with shields and batons and closed fists. They tackled us, put us in chokeholds, knees on necks. Over these past 3 months, I've been arrested 3 times, brutalized 4 times, and I got ran over by SUV at least one of those times. And the only crime, ironically, that I've committed that's warranted this amount of police brutality and police misconduct and unnecessary force, the only crime I've committed is being out here protesting police brutality and police misconduct and unnecessary force. That's the only thing we've done. And they marched down on us with hundreds of officers in riot gear, riot police who's trained and prepared to inflict pain on anybody out here standing up for black lives, and it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous that we live in a world with so much inequality and injustice, and anytime we stand up or speak out about it, we're penalized, we're beaten, we're detained. We won't be silenced anymore. We won't back down. We won't kneel. We won't be submissive to the system anymore. And if that makes me a criminal in James Craig's eyes, then so be it. But I won't continue to sit back and stand around while my people are getting lynched. We gotta fight. It's time to fight. Detroit Will Breathe is not the movement. It's an organization. The movement is the movement for black lives. The movement is the movement for black liberation, true freedom for all. The movement is a movement for accountability and transparency. No more senseless murders and killings justified by a badge. We have to do everything we can to dismantle the racist plot against black lives. And that racist plot against black lives is being upheld by DPD. So we need to limit their abilities ourselves, because obviously Craig, he doesn't have any morals, he doesn't have any boundaries. We know that his allegiance is only to the paycheck and not with the people. Right. So if it's gonna be real justice, we gotta make that justice happen. We need to literally make it illegal for Craig to march down on protesters with armies of hundreds of cops and weapons and military gear when these protesters are unarmed. We need to demilitarize the police so that they literally don't have the means to disperse chemical agents and declare warfare on citizens. We need to defund the police of that $300 million plus budget and put that money back into the communities, which actually would do a better job of preventing crime than DPD has ever done. These are the things that we need to make happen. And that's why this lawsuit is going to be so important. Because it's going to allow this movement the means to move forward in the way that we need to move forward in order to actually achieve those goals and actually create everlasting change in this city. It's got to be us. We got to do it, and we're here to do it. Thank you. I'm sorry, J Bass, J-A-E, last name Bass, B-A-S-S.
My name is Nakia Wallace. I'm a Detroit native, a proud graduate of Detroit Public Schools, and a Wayne State graduate, and I'm a co-founder and an organizer with Detroit Will Breathe. And for over 90 days, near 100, there's been a movement throughout this nation led by Black and brown people in defense of Black and brown lives. A movement that has unapologetically said, no longer will we accept the conditions in our communities. We now are going to hold police accountable for the murders and the executions and the brutality that they dispense in our neighborhoods and in our communities. And we're going to hold elected and appointed officials accountable for what their police forces do. We're going to hold them accountable for mass preventable deaths in our communities in the wake of COVID-19. We're going to hold them accountable for mass incarceration, for the fact that there are Black and brown people living in this country in the middle of a pandemic without running water. We're going to hold them accountable for the fact that there's mass homelessness in this country in the wake of a pandemic. The movement has prioritized Black and brown life and deemed it as precious. So no longer can the police kill and terrorize with impunity. No longer is it acceptable for the destruction of public education. No longer is it acceptable for Black and brown people to live in cities without recreation and libraries. No longer is it acceptable for people to call for meaningless reform. This is a movement that envisions something greater. We came out here because we know a world where people have access to health care and to clean water and to housing is possible. And we came out here to make that happen. A world where the police don't get to murder and brutalize. A world where ICE can't snatch babies from their families and terrorize them in cages. In almost every city in this country where this movement has stood up, where young Black and brown people like me have stood up and said, no longer is this acceptable. No longer can we go on the way we've been going on. There's been retribution from the state, carried out and dispensed at the hands of the police, and Detroit is no different. A police force where 70% of the officers live outside of the city, where 85% of commanding officers live outside of the city, is using the justification of where people live as an excuse to brutalize people, to use deadly force. It's unacceptable. This movement has held and will continue to hold Chief James Craig, Mayor Duggan, who is an outside agitator, accountable for these attacks which have been bloody. They've left us with broken bones, bruises, emotional and mental despair. They've hit us with batons. They've ran us over with cars. They've put us in chokeholds. They've dispensed tear gas in residential neighborhoods. They've detained us for over 16 hours on the lawn. They've put us in jail, and they've acted, most of all, with no regard for human life, all while gaslighting the people, all while aligning themselves with General Barr and Trump. And this movement refuses to accept this. We will continue to hold James Craig, Mike Duggan, and the Detroit Police Department accountable for these violent crimes committed against us. We do not find it acceptable for public servants to excuse this harm and to try to make it seem trivial. We do not find it acceptable for a police chief to justify excessive and potentially deadly harm done to people because he doesn't agree with their message, because we've exposed his failed leadership, and because above all, we seek a greater world. A world where people no longer have to live in fear of the violent nature of the police. So this lawsuit is one of the many ways in which we refuse to be intimidated by the violent nature of the police. And to Deputy Chief Bettison from Farmington Hills, to James Craig, to Mike Duggan, this Detroit girl right here that's in the front, that's been in the front, wants you to give it up. It's not working here. No. This movement and Detroit Will Breathe are not going anywhere. That's right.
You see how I am dressed? This is the uniform of a street medic. And any police officer can see that we are street medics when we come out in the streets and we dress like this. We wear this white shirt and use red tape to mark ourselves with crosses so that we are easily recognizable. If someone needs something, they come to us, whether it's water, snacks, a Band-Aid, or anything. And we stay out of the action. We don't want to be injured, because if we get injured, we can't help others. So when the crowd was all together and cops were closing in on them, on Saturday the 22nd, my partner and I were not there. The police actually got to us first and destroyed the triage area we had set up. They threatened to arrest us if we didn't leave, but we were standing on the sidewalk doing nothing illegal and we stood our ground. And then we watched in horror as the cops moved down the street and tear gassed the people we try to keep safe. We gathered what supplies we could and moved in closer to start treating the wounded. I thought I was about to spend the next half hour rinsing people's eyes out and moving them to safety. But as I got closer, I realized that I was walking into a war zone, or perhaps more accurately, a zone of illegal assault on police by police on peaceful citizens. All around, people were on the ground with cops on top of them. Some were being beaten, some had already been beaten and were being cuffed. There was screaming and crying and tear gas everywhere. Suddenly, my partner and I saw another street medic being beaten by police officers. She was trying to get away while they hammered her with blows from their batons. As I watched, one of the officers picked her up and bodily slammed her to the ground. This is a woman who I march with regularly. Why were these police attacking a street medic? What reason could they possibly have to harm her? I did not ask myself these questions as I watched her hit the pavement. I didn't ask myself anything. I ran to her side and started trying to help her back to her feet. As I reached her and was attempting to help her up, while at least two so-called peace officers continued to beat her, the one who had thrown her down began to strike me with his baton. I felt the first blow or two and they hurt, but I was too occupied with trying to help my fellow medic. But then something happened that forced me to stop. The man with the baton who had sworn to protect and serve hit me in the back with the full force of his considerable strength. In one blow, he cracked my rib and collapsed my right lung. I screamed in agony. I could barely breathe, but I didn't let go of my friend until the cop ripped my hand away and dragged me across the pavement. There is a lot more to this story, but as I was marched across the street to sit on the curb with the other prisoners, I noticed that all but two of the medics had been arrested. We stay out of the fray, yet somehow we had all been assaulted and taken into custody. In my non-medic life, I am a guitar teacher. I once had an older student who had been a combat medic in Vietnam. Isn't that a dangerous job? I naively asked him one day. He told me that the enemy would often target medics. If you can kill the medic and then wound a few soldiers, that can completely incapacitate a unit pretty easily. Of all the medics that I knew, I'm the only one who came back, he told me. On August 22nd, Detroit police used that tactic in an attempt to incapacitate this movement. They targeted medics and then wounded as many protesters as they could. The thing is, we're civilians, not soldiers, and these are our streets, not a battlefield.
I bring a lot of lit content to the channel, you know, a lot of fun stuff, a lot of partying, turn up, a lot of lit cars and all that stuff. But I gotta bring you the real stuff too, you know what I'm saying? This is real life shit that we go through on a regular basis, you know what I'm saying? Y'all know how big I am on, you know, black business and, you know, just the black community in a whole. So I gotta bring y'all all this shit, man, because this is all a part of it, man. It's not just one step, you know what I'm saying? It's not just one solution. So we gotta keep getting out here, making our voices heard. Y'all heard like she said, like the police was attacking the medics. Like they using that as a strategy to not to prevent the medics from helping the citizens who need attention. You know what I'm saying? And that's just fucking wrong, man. So we gotta get out here, man. We gotta make sure our voice is being heard. That's why I'm here today. And for y'all that don't know what's going on or couldn't make it down here, you know what I'm saying? We gotta make sure, man. These dirty ass cops and these cops that's using over excessive force and deadly force, that shit gotta stop, man. We demand change. We demand better, man. That shit gotta stop.